Hello and welcome to match day 43 of the Championship predictions. I'm Craig Surge. With me on the left of the screen is Charlie Betts, and down below is Daniel Cody. These Championship games are thick and fast, and I just can't catch up with any of them. Anyway, let's start off with Friday night football. It's Huddersfield Town versus Luton Town. It's live on Sky Sports main event and Sky Sports Football probably. It's a Sky Sports game. Luton picked up a point on Tuesday night. Me and you watched it, Cody. Thoughts on that draw first?
I think, to be brutally honest, and I hope I'm proven wrong, I think that was probably the final nail in the coffin for us this season. It wasn't so much the result, because we can all get set back against a defensive performance or something. It's the fact that we looked tired. We played so deep from, 20 minutes on after the goal. There were worrying signs. And with another game, this hasn't helped us, has it? Being moved back to 6 o'clock on a Friday. So I don't see much happening here, but I'll let you start your predictions.
Well, let's start with the predictions then. I think I'll go first this time. I think it's one of those Luton actually might welcome an away game. Well, obviously, with no expectancy to do much away from home is actually where they're getting most of their points. But I think the Great Escape is still on. I think there's still plenty more twists and tales left in this relegation battle in the Championship. I think it will go down to the final day. I don't necessarily say Luton will be there in the final day, but I think it will go down to the final day. However, I have gone for Huddersfield 1, Luton Town 2. Charlie.
I mean, there's optimism and then there's stupidity, isn't there?
I couldn't disagree more. I think Luton are obviously still in a bit of a... I know it was a point, but given the context... I didn't watch the game, so I can't comment on the actual game, but given that it was, the team immediately above Luton, so maybe the sloppiness of letting in a late goal and stuff like that, off the back of a thumping by Reading, it's not looking like Luton are in the greatest of form. Huddersfield, essentially, by the looks of it, only need a win, and they're pretty much safe. So I think that puts them on 50 points then if they beat Luton on Friday. And they have been a bit more stout defensively in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. So, with that in mind, as much as you might not like to hear it, I actually think Huddersfield are going to win 1-0. I just can't see Luton getting enough in the tank. Maybe, like you say, away from home, but not in great form. Whereas Huddersfield are. All points to Huddersfield win for me. So apologies, lads, but that's what
you think. You say not in form, but they've only lost one game.
No, they've let in 6 goals in 2 games. That's worrying.
The Reading one was a goal. Reading one was a blur.
I'll quote, one of our friends who said that if you're not beating the teams around you, then you can't stay up. So I don't necessarily agree with that. But if Luton really, for a confidence boost, to have won a ground out of 1-0 win against Barnsley, I'd have probably gone the other way in this match. I just think 5-0 thumping, drawing with a team who's above you, and basically, let's be brutally honest, you saw Barnsley are not a great side. Whatever you think of the game. So I just think down to confidence, personally, I can only see a Huddersfield win. But sorry, I've taken a lot of airtime there, sorry.
It's all right. I guess for me, I think the biggest confidence thing again, and I know Nathan Jones said he doesn't mention it, and I know we're focusing on the Luton side, so sorry to Huddersfield fans, but it's what we know. So Wigan winning last night means that even with the points deduction, Luton will be bottom of the table again on goal difference. So for me, that's a huge negative as well, and certainly a thing morale-wise. I don't think Huddersfield are inspiring anyone either. I know they got one good result, but it was a 0-0 draw in midweek. They haven't scored many goals since the restart, but Luton, they played very defensively and did in the away games even when they were successful. And actually, when your pressure's been to go forward and to attack teams, as we saw with Reading, we got carved open on the counter because we're not strong enough at the back. So I'm going to predict Luton to go to a more defensive base as they did away at Leeds. And I'm going to predict, because Huddersfield aren't the best going forward, it's going to be a boring TV 0-0 draw.
Why am I not surprised after that long discussion there?
Can I just point out I got them right in the midweek, Craig?
Anyway, moving on. Another game on Friday night. Fulham, they're playing Cardiff at Craven Cottage. Charlie, start with you.
I don't know. This is a tough one. I find it because they're two teams that are getting results. Fulham, I imagine if you're a Fulham fan, wouldn't necessarily say they've been performing the best. They've been, been getting points here, but not necessarily been convincing. Cardiff got, a playoff place to play for. I don't know. This is such a tough one. I think there'll be goals in it. I'm going to gamble 3-2 Cardiff. I'm going to go bold on it. 3-2 Cardiff.
Okay, Daniel.
I've got to say it is a hard one to predict. As much as Charlie's prediction is ridiculous, I think Fulham are going to nick it. Cardiff, obviously, in midweek, their first proper disappointment since coming back. Fulham picked up another crucial win. As Charlie said, they're not playing brilliantly, or certainly aren't from the highlights that we're seeing, but they're getting results now. So I'm going to bank them to continue. I'm going to go a bit lower, 2-1, but to Fulham.
No, I totally agree on Daniel Cody's side, actually, to be honest, on a Fulham.
Good choice after midweek.
No, it was a good 2-1 win for Fulham. 1-0 win for Fulham, on at Forest. Not many teams have won at Forest this season, so yeah. But no, Cardiff, I think they'll be very disappointing conceding how they conceded on Tuesday to Blackburn. It was a good strike from 40 yards out from Adam Armstrong. But yeah, I think that's, I'm not saying killed them off, but that would knock a few stockings out of them. Fulham will be buoyed by the 2 wins, obviously QPR and against Forest. So I'm going to also go for Fulham to win 2-1. Moving on to Saturday, it's Charlton Athletic versus Reading at the Valley. Daniel Coast, aren't you?
Oh, it's another tough one, isn't it? I mean, Reading were... I was actually going to say Reading got a sublime result at Luton, but let's be honest, they were handed a 5-0 victory, and it's not often you can say that to a team. And I guess that was proven by the 0-0 draw against Huddersfield. And I can't really comment much on that performance because Quest showed about 2 highlights from the entire game. Charlton, back-to-back defeats. They've just probably done enough, and they're now possibly going on the summer holidays again. Are having the big players go, I know it got a reaction initially, as we discussed, it might, but that means you've got a smaller squad as well. And is that going to hurt as we're playing a game every 3 days? I think it will. And I think, again, Charlton will lose by the same score they lost to Brentford, despite a good display. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Reading. And I know that's controversial.
Charlie?
Yeah, I sort of agree with you. I think Reading maybe now, actually, because they're obviously safe and all of that. Maybe you've got less to play for, and actually gives them a bit of freedom. But I don't know. I mean, Charlton, like you said, it was a dogged performance against Brentford. I know they end up losing, but they've got a lot closer than a lot of other better teams have recently. So with that in mind, I think it will be a draw. And I'm going to go for 1-1.
Interesting. I also believe that Charlton will lose tomorrow. I think it's those spirit. I think that every game they've played, Charlton, since the restart, they've actually put in a really good, dogged performance. Apart from one, the Millwall game was horrific to watch.
Wasn't good.
But every game they've been tight. It's always, they've lost by the odd goal, or it's late in the game, or they've won one late goal or close to that. But I think Reading, obviously, they point at Huddersfield, but then I still think the confidence will be up in the Luton game, even though, as Cody said, it's like, here you go, take my money, don't punch me in the face. So I've gone for Charlton 1, Reading 3.
Wow.
I expected to be alone on Reading winning, to be honest.
Next game is at Pride Park. It's Derby County versus Brentford. Derby pushing for the playoffs. Brentford pushing for automatic promotion. I will start this one off. Lewis Sibley is not playing. He got sent off in midweek. Brentford on good form. I mean, we said this every week now, and they really have impressed me. Despite me picking them to lose a couple of games, but they have been really impressive. I think they're still going to put pressure on West Brom and Leeds, and they're going to win 2-1. Cody?
Well, as I predicted Brentford for promotion, and I even predicted them for a win in midweek, and they nearly let me down. It's hard to see past it. Derby missing Sibley. I talked about it in that second game back where he won the first one after lockdown because he had pace in behind, something that Derby had been missing before. I know we got some comments about it, but obviously we did the research. They've had the 4th least shots on target in the league. There were plenty of stats to go with it. But I think, I was very upset by that because, I prided myself on that research.
Kevin Keegan, calm down. Just give me your prediction, please.
I don't want to risk, again, predicting Brentford on the week they win it, but I think Derby will set up a bit more defensively. So I'm going to go for Brentford to win, but I'm going to go for a very narrow, frustrating 1-0 victory with the goal possibly coming quite late on.
Charlie?
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I think what Brentford showed is that they can grind out a win as well. You know, in the sense that prior to this, they've pretty much battered sort of teams and coming from behind. I think that's, you know, it's good form going into the last sort of 4 games. Whether they've left themselves a little bit too much to do with, you know, Leeds and West Brom, obviously time will tell on that. But I do agree. I mean, Derby's goal difference, I think they're only in +1 for a team that's in like 8th or 9th. You know, that's not exactly, you know, you wouldn't expect them to be going out and, you know, taking teams on. So with that in mind, I agree. I think no, Brentford have got too much. So I don't like copying people's scores, but I think I'm going to have to go over 1-0 Brentford win. Only because I agree. I think Brentford are great going forward. Derby are going to be scared of that. The only thing that might change it is Derby do need a win to keep in touch with the playoffs. And if they start to come out, do you know what, I'm going to change it? 2-0 Brentford. So I think Derby will have to come out if Brentford get one.
The one game Luton Town did not want as a fixture, it's Barnsley versus Wigan at Oakwell. Daniel Coe, starting with you.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of reaction. Wigan in midweek. You've got to give it to the players because they could so easily have just wilted and said, do you know what? The club's let us down. But they fought back. The reaction between, I mean, even from the bits on social media between the fans and the players, it seems to have unified them, if anything. And I said to Charlie in the Wigan episode, I wouldn't be shocked if they got that gap and stayed up in the end, even with the points deduction. So do you know what? I'm going to back them for another win. I'm going to back them to get a result, and I'm going to back them to scrap another 1-0 because I've not seen that sort of resilience for it. It sort of reminds me of when Luton won the Johnston Paint. It reminds me of that sort of backs against the wall siege mentality, and I think they'll do it. 1-0 Wigan.
Charlie.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it last time that I think they probably wrote off was it Brentford they played before QPR, wasn't it? I think.
Yes.
So I think, you know, we said about that sort of maybe, and then attacking the QPR game, which they obviously did. I mean, I think they're 8 points clear now. Potentially results going their way if they obviously win, which I think they will do. That would put them 11 points. You know, I think actually, like you say, it's doable. So I think of a bit of confidence now from that win against QPR. I know QPR are temperamental, but still a good side. I think Wigan actually. I'm going to go. I didn't watch Barnsley midweek, so obviously I can't comment on them too much.
Lucky for you.
Well, yeah, but I do think that, you know, I'm going to go Wigan 2-0.
You're both going for a Wigan win, and I disagree.
Even after watching Barnsley?
After watching Barnsley.
We were both rubbish. Wow.
Yeah, but to be honest, Barnsley created the chances. The only reason why they created the chances is because Luton sat back. Yeah. However, it had to be a scrappy goal for them to score. It didn't get behind the Luton defence. Luton were actually, to be fair, defensively, we were okay, despite conceding the scrappiest of goals. So, for a worrying point of view, Barnsley, if it takes that sort of goal, it'll be hard. It's very hard to get those sort of scrappy goals every week. However, Wigan did pick up a very good victory, and I've just listened to you both, and I'm not going to change my mind after what you just said. So, I've gone for a 1-1 draw.
Interesting.
Blackburn Rovers, inconsistent Blackburn Rovers. They are playing West Brom, who are currently, at the time of recording, this is before Leeds versus Stoke, top of the Championship right now. Daniel Coe, starting with you.
Well, I'm not going to make any comments on the Thursday night game because I'm sure you'll wait 5 hours and edit something in to make me look like an idiot. So thank you. Now I know why the episode didn't come out till 9 o'clock, Craig. Cheers. Right. West Brom are back in form. Slaven Bilic will take them up. And despite me saying in the pre-season predictions Leeds would win the league, I think West Brom will now. Blackburn inconsistent. They got a good result midweek, but you wouldn't bank on them to do it twice in a row. They're certainly not the side you'd put your house on, are they? So I'm going to go West Brom, and I'll probably go again, maybe 2-1. We'll keep it tight.
I agree with your scoreline. I agree with West Brom will win. I think that now they're in their stride. They needed a game just to get going again, and now they've obviously past the Brentford game when they lost. They knew where it went wrong, and now they've taken it in their stride. Despite conceding 2 goals against Hull.
Yeah, it was weird,
last weekend. That was pretty weird. I do think they'll concede again, but I do agree it will be a 2-1 win for West Brom. Charlie?
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually think it'll be a bit bigger margin. I think it'll be 3-0 West Brom. I think as much as Blackburn, like you say, have been inconsistent, I don't really see. I think once West Brom get in their stride, and Bilic is a good manager. What you know, if you remember a few years ago when he was at West Ham, I think he's what's the word? Not student of the game, but you know, he's very good at analysing teams and I can just see once Blackburn let in one, I think they'll fold a bit. So I'm going to go 3-0 West Brom.
Hull City are at home. They're home to Millwall at the KC, obviously. Hull have lost Herbie Kane. He's out for the rest of the season. That's a big blow for them because he was scoring for fun since the restart. He's a very good technical player. I think this will be another game where Hull will lose. I don't see them. I know they scored 2 against West Brom. They'll be happy from that. But it's just one of those, it's at home, even though they beat Middlesbrough the other week. I'm just rambling on some random stuff now. It's not making sense of why I'm predicting this scoreline. However, I think Millwall will nick it 1-0. Cody?
This is the game I found the hardest because Millwall, obviously beaten comfortably by Middlesbrough yesterday. I think it's fair to say were uninspiring at Charlton. It was a 0-0 game, if we're being brutally honest. Hull put up a fight at West Brom, put up a fight at Bristol City, but defensively, they're all over the shop. So how on earth do you predict this game? I mean, it is the Championship Classic. It could be 5-0 either way or 1-0. So I'm going to split the difference and go 1-0.
That's the beauty of the Championship. Anything can happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Charlie?
I agree with what you say. I mean, Hull letting goals, there's no doubt in that. Millwall, like you say, have been a bit uninspiring. So my head is saying 2-2, but I'm always going to use that parentheses that we did the other day. And I think my heart is saying that it'll be 2-2, but then like Hull will nick one in the last minute and 3-2. So I'm not sure whether to gamble with my gut with that. But I am going to do it because there's no points on offer. So I'm going to go Hull 3-2, but I reckon it'll be like a last minute. I reckon it'll be 2-2 and then Hull knocks on 93rd minute or something crazy like that.
You stupid man.
I'm going to do points by the end of this. Anyway, another team in relegation battle. Middlesbrough picked up a brilliant win against Millwall, controversially. I haven't seen the highlights, but that's what I've read. They're paying managers Bristol City. The Neil Warnock effect is still kicking in, despite a couple of defeats lately. Charlie, start with you.
Yeah, no, I'll probably look silly because, to be honest, I actually said about, Lee Johnson going at Bristol City and it being the same assistant manager, it being the same thing, and then they went and won 2-1. So that makes it look a bit silly. But I still think that Bristol City, although maybe a little bit of a flash in the pan, to show there's a bit of fight about them, I still don't think they'll have enough to turn over a very, fighting for their lives Middlesbrough and with Neil Warnock in charge. So I'm going to go Middlesbrough again, and I'm going to go, as I usually do, a ground out 1-0 Neil Warnock style long ball win, 1-0.
Cody?
Well, it's the battle, isn't it, of the resurgent Neil Warnock effect and the brand new Dean Holden effect. So I'm not quite sure where to go on this one. Bristol City did win, but it's against the whole side that leaked goals. And Middlesbrough, I mean, they've been inconsistent under Warnock, if nothing else. And as you say, it was slightly controversial in midweek. So I'm not going to bank on a Middlesbrough win, like Charlie. I'm going to go for a thrilling, and I don't know why I'm saying this with these two sides at the moment, but I'm going to go for a thrilling 2-2 draw, and it is going to be end-to-end action. 30 shots at least.
Okay, he's had too much shandy. To be honest, I agree. I agree a little bit of what you're saying, Cody, on a draw, which I think it will be a draw. I think Mills will happily take the draw, considering teams are playing against each other at the bottom of the table. But yeah, I think Mills, to be fair, Mills will be void from that 2-0 win. Because I don't think anyone expected Mills to beat Millwall away from home. Bristol City, I just don't care about them. They've got nothing to play for, so not in that way.
Bristol City fans, that is Craig Savage.
No, I think you've got nothing to play for. The season's over for you. You've got 4 games to stay and nothing. You can't get in the playoffs. You can't get relegated. You're in the mid-table. You're happy where you are. Just accept it. I'll move on. And I'm going for a 1-1 draw. Coming up next, it's Preston Northen versus Nottingham Forest. Preston won a game of football for once. They beat Sheffield Wednesday away from home. Nottingham Forest lost to Fulham. They'll be a bit disappointed for that, a bit frustrated. However, I still think that Forest will win. Forest was still going to be strong. I think it was just an off day for them. Preston, the confidence would be up with beating Sheffield Wednesday, but the home form has not been good at all for a while. However, I'm going to go for Preston Northen 0, Nottingham Forest 2. Charlie?
Ooh.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Forest have got so much quality. I know, I think you'd be naive outside of Brentford maybe to think that every team in the remaining fixtures from the lockdown to the end of the season is going to have a worldie every match, but I think they've still got too much quality. Preston are just floating round. Again, yeah, like I say, played a very poor Sheffield Wednesday. So I think it all goes for a Nottingham Forest win. And I'm going to go for a 2-0 Nottingham Forest win.
Cody.
I've gone for the same outcome. I thought I was going to be on my own here, so I'm glad we're all in agreement. I think both results will reverse from midweek. Forest played a Fulham side that are right up there. Preston, as you mentioned, played a side in Sheffield Wednesday that are uninspiring at times and haven't been in good form for 6 months, really. So I think based on that, we have to go for a Forest win, but I'm going to go a bit narrower, just the 1-0 for me. Next
up is QPR. They are playing Sheffield Wednesday in probably the most mid-table game of the weekend. I will start this one off. I was going to go 1-1, but I might change it to 0-0. I'm going to go 0-0. I'm going to go 0-0. I don't really have a lot to say about these two teams. QPR and Sheffield Wednesday both inconsistent. Mid-table, very solid. 0-0. Charlie.
Yeah, I think Wednesday will sneak a 1-0 win, but it'll be possibly one of the most uninspiring games of football we're going to see. And the reason I say that is QPR lost Jordan Hugill to injury, haven't they? I don't think they've got a real first-team striker at the minute. I think it's a young sort of lads from the reserve youth team that are having to fill those spaces. I just think QPR just have no attacking threat really at the minute. So based on that, I can't see them scoring many goals between now and the end of the season. And yeah, Sheffield Wednesday, I don't know. I think it'll be like a dodgy goal from a corner. It'll bounce off 6 people and go in. One of those sorts of games where there's nothing really exciting about it. But I think Wednesday will win 1-0. But I wouldn't tune in for it.
Is Eze injured? Up top?
No, Eze played, but
he hasn't scored. He hasn't scored in a long time.
He hasn't scored in ages. Hugill scored the week before, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think, and he injured that game. So, they're sort of obviously. But I think the lad who played against Wigan was, I think he might have been come out of the youth team or something like that. So he was like 19-year-old. So I don't think it's they haven't got much of an attacking threat in a minute. So 1-0 Wednesday.
Cody.
Again, as Charlie mentioned, it's a tough one to predict because QPR been involved in 1-0s all week, and Sheffield Wednesday have been losing games quite consistently. But I'm going to go on the basis that both teams have got nothing to play for. QPR are inconsistent. They won 2 games ago. They lost the last game. They're going to win this game. But I think it's going to be an end-to-end thriller. I've got hope, and I'm going to say this is the game of the week you do want to tune into. It's going to be 3-2 QPR.
3-2 QPR. Very interesting. As we move on to Sunday, Stoke City. They are at home to Birmingham. Cody, start with you.
Obviously, it's very... Again, I'm not going to be dragged into a statement because Stoke haven't played yet. And, I'm not leaving you an editing gap or anything. Birmingham have been woeful. Pep Clotet, did he officially leave today?
I don't know. You messaged me earlier saying he's left.
There was an article this morning.
Idea.
There was an article this morning, but I've not seen any formal announcements about it. So whether that will happen or not, I don't know. I mean, it seems the best idea for both parties because since that announcement has come just before the restart, Birmingham, what have they got to play for? They're safe and they've got a manager who they know is going to be leaving. It's a very strange situation. So I can't predict for Birmingham to win. Stoke, the last game that we saw before the Thursday night Leeds is a 4-0 victory. I have to go for a Stoke win and comprehensively as well. I'm going to go 3-1.
Well, I've just you asked me about Pep Clotet. He has gone.
Oh dear, can I change?
Steve Spooner and Craig Gardner will take charge of the game on Sunday against Stoke.
3-2. They get an extra goal out of that. Craig Gardner in an Inspire a long range strike.
Did you say Birmingham to win 3-2?
No, to lose 3-2. I had 3-1 before.
Right. Okay. No, to be honest, Birmingham. Since they announced Pep Clotet was leaving during lockdown, Birmingham just have not turned up. And I'll keep repeating this every week. I don't know what has happened there. They look like they've given up. What's the point? If you're going to say you're going to leave, what's the point? Even playing, bothering in these 9 games. They're pretty much safe. But Stoke, I think they will win this one. I really do. At home, I think Stoke will win 2-0. Charlie.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I actually think Stoke will win 3-1. I think Burnham leaked goals. I'm not going over the whole thing. I completely agree with what you two have said. I think forgetting tonight's game, as we showed, as you sort of mentioned last week, Dan, about a week under Michael O'Neill's complete coaching and then managing, they obviously put in a good performance. Don't know what's going to happen tonight when we're recording, but I still expect the same. I think he has a big influence on that team. So for me, I'm going to go 3-1 Stoke.
And the final game of the Championship weekend is Swansea City versus Leeds. Cody, start with you.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. Well, again, Leeds tonight. Who knows? Swansea. This is the hardest one because Swansea played well in midweek. They won comfortably, but they were playing Birmingham. They won at the weekend. They won well. They were playing Sheffield Wednesday. It's very hard to judge the form based on that. So I'm a little bit tough about Leeds because it's going to depend on tonight's game, but I think they'll nick it. So do you know what? I'm going to go both teams to score, Leeds to nick it 2-1 in a very tense game and maybe controversy.
That's the pool's done there for Cody. Charlie.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one, because I think, as you mentioned about Luton, both teams have shown that if a team digs in against them, they're not necessarily the best at breaking them down. I think like you mentioned about the two teams that Swansea have beaten. I mean, by the sounds of it, both back fours are non-existent every week at the minute, so it's not exactly a massive achievement. Leeds, like you say, get frustrated. I honestly don't know. I think both teams are going to attack. I think it's going to be a big, high-scoring game. I'm going to bottle it. No, I'm not going to bottle it. 3-2 Swansea. I think Swansea will nick it. I honestly do it. Well, I think they'll jump into the playoffs. They've got so much. They're on the cusp, aren't they? They've got so much to play for. I think the pressure of Leeds. This is a big game again. I'm going to go 3-2 Swansea. That
is the biggest call you've made.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I've gone right down the middle on the fence on this one. The fact that Sky Sports are doing a documentary about Leeds and the Bielsa, when Leeds have done their own documentary about Leeds, takes the fucking piss, to be honest. When there's 20, it's the typical Sky Sports. Let's be biased about Leeds and Liverpool, and everyone will bloody agree.
Those are the thoughts of Craig Savage again.
I'm right.
No, I do agree with him. Actually, there's enough of that, and what he hasn't really achieved anything.
He hasn't got promoted yet.
The one thing I would say is do a documentary. If you really want to do one, and Leeds have already had a massive one, do one on another Championship club or another League One club that then gives them a bit of income and them a bit of publicity. Do it, even it out. You're right to an extent. There is a little bit of bias towards certain teams from the media side.
Anywho, I'll go back to my prediction after that little rant. Anyway, Swansea, Brewster's injured. I think Brewster got injured in midweek or...
He was listed as doubtful when I looked.
Was he doubtful? Well, there you go. So if he's not playing this weekend, Swansea are screwed. However, I think that this is the weekend where it might cave in for Leeds if West Brom keep winning. But the Leeds are going to drop points. They're going to drop 2 points. They're going to. I'm going to go for Swansea 1, Leeds 1.
I agree. Are going to be full. The comments are going to be full.
Craig. But I agree. Recently, they haven't coped well with games under pressure, have they? When you look, they had to chasing to get a win against Luton, draw. All the other things we've spoken about in previous weeks. I just don't think they cope with the pressure very well. And this come Sunday when it's played, it will be another pressure cooker environment. I think.
Well, if they lose to Stoke tonight, at the time of recording,
I predicted that,
massive pressure. Massive pressure Leeds on Sunday.
They'll fold. But anyway, sorry, Craig, I interrupted you there.
No, it's fine. And that is it for our Championship predictions. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know in the comment section down below. And you can like, share, and subscribe. And you can follow us on Twitter @HonestFootball3. We'll see you next time.